I'm sorry for the delay. So my name is Xuan Nga Cao, and I was asked to come and share with you my experience as using linguistics to create outside of academia to create tools to track and improve linguistics and cognitive development. And so here's the presentation outline. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm going to present you with 3 projects that I'm currently working on, and I will have a short conclusion about some thoughts I would like to share with you about the entrepreneurial experience. So my background, I completed my PhD in linguistics at the City University of New York. And before my PhD years and also actually doing my PhD, because it's a non-funded PhD, I worked in several startups in the US. And in end of 2012, I moved back to France, and luckily I found almost immediately a part-time position as a research engineer at the LSCP, and I've been working there since then. So specifically, I work for the CoML team. For those of you who don't know, the CoML team is the cognitive machine learning team. And the interest of the team is to study language acquisition in babies, right? As it is the expertise of the LSCP. But we take a more engineering approach where the team develops algorithms to analyze and understand how children acquire language. And last but not least, I'm a mother of 2 children, and I don't know, well, I'm sure you're aware of it. Children keep us very busy, and so it's a factor that I always take into consideration when I start the different projects I'm working on. The first project I'm going to talk to you about is the BabyCloud project. So we started the BabyCloud project in April 2017. And thinking brain behind this is Emmanuel Dupoux, who is the director of the CoML team. I'm the project, I would say, coordinator that put into practice his ideas with team of engineers, designers, and many interns who worked on this project. And right now we have 2 collaborators. One is Alex Christia, who also works at the LSCP, and Caroline Rowland, who is a researcher at the Max Planck Institute. And we have 2 beta testers who are based in Japan. Why did we start this project? At the time, we saw some opportunities with the scientific advances in cognitive science and AI that allow for better data analysis and modeling of language. There was also technological advances with more powerful and better computer systems that allowed you to analyze thousands of hours of data. And more on the commercial aspect, we knew that the baby tech market was flourishing. You know, with the parents, or the many parents coming to the baby lab, we always noticed that parents' main concern is how well the child is developing, and is he good or not good, you know. And I think if you look at the market in the baby tech market, you would see that there are many products addressing this need in the entertainment, health, and education sectors. And that's when we envisioned the BabyCloud platform. So I will tell you a little bit about I will explain to you the platform. But what we wanted to do with this is to, I guess, be the bridge between researchers and parents, and create the platform where both of them would contribute to each party, and they would also benefit from each other, right? So I will start with telling you about the parent side of this project. And so for the parents, we had two functionalities. One is the recording device, and one is the tracking device with the application. So for the recording part, what we wanted was a logger to document the child's interaction in their natural environment. And for the tracking, so would have an application that would analyze the data that we got from the recordings and have it presented to parents via charts and analytics. And we wanted to develop our own recorder because, you know, for the machine learning algorithms to perform very well, we all know that they needed to have very good audio quality. And when we searched for such a device, there was really none. And we wanted to also add some functionalities that would actually allow us later to improve the algorithms. So we hire an engineer to work with us on making what we call the baby logger. So here's how it looked like. I don't remember, in 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I would say. And at the time, you know, we wanted everything. We had the camera, we had microphones, and we added the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi units. But all this came with a price, which is that it was very, very big, right? And obviously a baby couldn't wear it. And so we had to work on this prototype to make it smaller. And currently we do have a working baby logger, which is much smaller. It's only 7.5 centimeters by length, and it's super lightweight, only 200 grams. So, you know, a baby can wear it. But obviously to make it that small, we needed to, well, make some compromise. So we moved the camera, and also we reduced the number of channels to only 4 microphones. The battery was optimized to make to last 24 hours, so we could make day-long recordings. And very important, all the data are encrypted. So we did that to protect, obviously, the user's privacy, so that if the baby logger gets lost, the data cannot be encrypted. And the second part, the second product for the parents, right, was the Baby Explorer application. And we designed like 3 functionalities for this application. One was the dashboard with all the analysis that we got from the recordings and that were presented to parents. The second one was what we call the timeline, where you can actually browse through the recordings, edit them, remove them, and you can also create journal entries by adding photos, videos to document the child's first years of life. And we also wanted to add a baby game section where we would develop some games so that to stimulate the child's development. What was interesting about the BabyCloud project was actually, I think, its business model. Emmanuel wanted to create a social business where, you know, all the different parties involved in the BabyCloud platform would be included in the governance of the entity. So, for example, you have the employees with their know-how, the families with the data, and the scientists with their algorithms. And the 3 parties would contribute to make applications that then would be sold and generate revenues that would be re-injected into the company. And we thought that was very good at several levels, because we keep a scientific credibility. We the data would still be controlled by families, and because of the revenues being injected in the company, you could make the technology evolve, all the time. So we did a brief market research, and we found that researchers were very interested in the project and had, were willing to use it, even though they have very limited, I would say, money. But when we talked to families, it was a different story. I think the fact that the child has to wear the baby logger, even though it's very light, is still very intrusive and a big constraint for parents. And they were not willing to pay for a product where, the child has to wear all the time to get the analytics. And when we talked to investors, even though they thought like we had a great technology and they liked the project, the fact that we wanted to make a social business was make it that it was a very complex business model for them. And, usually they want to have immediate returns, right, on an investment, or at least medium-term returns. And they tend to invest more in traditional setups. So they were not really interested in investing in us. And because of all that, Emmanuel and I talked, and we thought that maybe what we should do is actually now shift our focus to only researchers and set parents aside for a moment. And that's when Emmanuel created the Beehive nonprofit. And so I'm going to talk to you about the Beehive nonprofit now. Here's we designed some mock-ups for the Beehive platform. It was called formerly Ecolaria, but we changed the name because, Ecolaria had a negative connotation. And so with the Beehive platform, what we wanted was that we had a catalog of corpora where researchers, would upload the data they collected. And so if you get to a corpus page, a researcher could listen to his recordings, for example, set some basic statistics, and also set some sharing permissions. And what they can do more than that is actually start an annotation campaign with CSHAT. So CSHAT is a tool that was developed within the CoML team to manage annotation tasks. Because, we have lots of recordings, many hours, and so you would have many annotators, right? So we need a tool to manage that and to track the progress of the work. So that's what the role of CSHAT. And in CSHAT, you can also have some templates that automatically check for some basic annotation errors made by human annotators. But so that's CSHAT. But with the campaigns, the recording campaigns right now, usually you have thousands of hours, right? And you can only manually annotate some of it, but you cannot annotate thousands of hours. So what the Beehive platform will provide you is some automatic labeling to the entire corpus. And so with that, you can launch some of the algorithms that are integrated into the Beehive platform. And last, we would also include our studio module, so that the researcher could run advanced statistics on his data once he gets the annotations. And once he's done with all that, they can export the data with the download function. So what have we done so far on with Beehive? So the engineers has managed to set up a platform where you can upload and download the data, and to launch the automatic labeling with the algorithms. What we have done also is that we have integrated two algorithms that were developed within the team or contributed by collaborators. One is Pionot. So Pionot is open source, obviously, and it allows you to do two things. One is the voice activity detection. So voice activity detection is to, within a speech stream, to detect the speech segments, so where you have speech, right? And the second function, once you have the speech segments, is to determine who is speaking. And right now, we have implemented broad labels like if it's the key child that is speaking, or other children, or male adults, or female adults. But of course, you can try to refine that. And the second algorithm that was integrated is also open source, and it allows you to automatically count the number of phonemes, syllables, and words. And as I told you, CSHAT is functional, but it runs right now independently. And what are next step for Beehive? So we got the feedback from the beta testers of the logger in Japan. And obviously, they gave us some feedback about how we could make it more user-friendly, like, for example, how to insert and take out the SD card, for example. We also want to add a USB connector for faster transfer, and we want to improve the battery life. On CSHAT, we want to integrate light ELAN. So for those of you who don't know, ELAN is an annotation tool that lots of linguists use along with Pratt. And right now, right, CSHAT is just a task manager. But if you want to annotate, you have to do it locally on your computer with your own software. And so we want to integrate a light ELAN so that it can you can do it on the platform, directly on the platform. And we also want to customize the templates for checking the annotation errors. So for this part of the project, Caroline Rowland from the MPI submitted a grant last year, and hopefully we'll hear from it in, I think it's actually March. And well, we obviously want to improve performance of the existing algorithms, and we also want to add new ones. And finally, we need to automatize, the platform right now, because for the uploading and the launching of the algorithms, we're doing manually, but we want to make it like automatic. Okay, that was it for the Beehive platform, but let's come back to the BabyCloud platform. So as I told you, right, we wanted, after doing the market research, we felt like we need to focus on researchers. But at the same time, I think I believed that there was still a need on the parent side. But maybe the product that we wanted to make was too complicated for them, and maybe we could simplify it so that it will appeal more to parents. So I talked to Emmanuel, and he was interested in this aspect, but well, for those of you who know Emmanuel, he has tons of projects going on, and he felt like he didn't have the time to dedicate to this. And so we agreed that I could take on this part and work on my own if I wanted to. So and that's what I did. I only now working part-time in the CoML team, and the rest of my time I'm working on this project, which is Gazouyi. So when we started Gazouyi in 2020, I was alone, and I knew that I needed to partner with someone who would know how to make an application, at least a programmer, right? I have a linguistics background. I can do some basic programming, but I cannot code an app. And that's when I met Victor at the time. So Victor was doing an internship within the CoML team, and I knew that he just worked on Deep News, which was also a startup. So I talked to him about the project, and he was interested in joining me on this adventure. And so we applied to the INRIA Startup Studio, which is the INRIA accelerator, and we got a grant that covered for Victor's salary, and also helped us hire, designers, linguists, and some engineers. Well, it was a small grant, so it was mainly interns more than a full-time job. And so Victor will be taking care of the programming part, and I would take care of the content. But as we went along with the project, we realized that, Victor, because he was also doing the business side of the project, didn't have enough time. And so in September 2020, Salome joined us to work on the business leads. And so why Gazouyi? So because I was in charge of the content, I think for that, I used my experience as a mother. And so I tried to design the product based on three perspectives, I guess. So the first one is understand. So I think, nobody teaches you to be a parent, right? You learn it on the spot. And I think when you're a first-time parent, you need so much information, and you are lost where to find the information. And so that's why I wanted to create a place where we could address, we could provide answers on the parenting questions that parents may have. So that was the first thing I wanted to do. The second one was to gather all the family members around the child by creating the baby book. So I think family is important, and you see it. I think it's even more obvious now with the pandemic, or like me when I was living abroad with my family and friends. And I think especially now, grandparents cannot see their grandkids, and I think they would be very happy if they had a common place where every family members could come and see what's going on with for example, for the grandparents with their grandkids' life. And so that's why we created the baby book, where you can upload pictures and developmental milestones about the child's early life. And the last one is the bond functionality. So for the bond functionality, it was related to the fact that when you talk to parents, right, their concern is how well their child is developing. But usually the two milestones they will always tell you about is when is their child going to say their first words or make their first steps, right? But we all know that before getting to those two stages, there are many other developmental milestones in between. And because because you are so overwhelmed with the daily routines as a new parent, and if you're not aware of that, I think you will miss on those milestones that characterize your child's development. And so within Gazouyi, what we did is we created a set of activities, but that are very simple to interact between parents and the child. But the specificity is that each activity is linked to a developmental milestone. And if you interact with your child, you may be able to observe that milestone, even, maybe stimulate that skill. And so what have we done so far? So we managed to secure a partnership with AFPA, which is an association of French pediatricians. And we secure, so what we do is that we share their content onto our app. We're also conducting a scientific study with Jacqueline Venland at the University of Paris to evaluate the impact of Gazouyi on the well-being of parents. And for words, we just got the French Tech grant from the BPI, and we were accepted into 2 incubators. On the commercial aspect, we have 2 B2B customers, a small contract with RATP and a bigger one with BabyCloud, which is the first, I think, the first network of private daycares in Europe. And we are in talk with other B2B prospects, and we also have 2 pilots going on in other daycare networks. And the application was launched in January of this year, so 2 months ago. And last week, we managed to get to the 1,000 user mark. So that was good. We were very happy. And our objective for this year, I guess, is to gain more visibility so that we can start generating some revenues before a fundraising in 2022. We also need to understand and improve the retention rate, which is currently at 5%. And it's not a good number, obviously. But yeah, we're going to try to improve that in the coming months. We need to understand the applications usage so that, you know, we will decide on to keep or discard some functionalities. So right now, for example, the baby book is not used at all, but we don't know if it's because, you know, the message is not, well, we don't advertise it very well, or is it just because parents don't need it? And we will start analyzing the statistics from the activities that we got, because we do guess, because we have, you know, some users, we can have some statistics now, and with that, it will help us work on, you know, we find the content of some of the activities. Also, we find some age ranges that we define for the activities, and, you know, maybe even more, try to understand maybe some developmental issues or something. But we're far from that. But I think we're going to have soon we're going to start analyzing what we got from the activities. And now I'm going to tell you about the BLAST project. So for the BLAST project, I partnered with Rocio Rania. So Rocio Rania and I have known each other for a long time because we did our PhD together, and we talked, you know, regularly. And in 2018, you know, I think we were having kind of midlife crisis where we were kind of exhausted with our 3 or 4 jobs, because we always do things like that. And you know, we were also frustrated with the fact that we spent so many years completing our PhD and not really using it. And it was at the same time also that one of her sons actually started school and was at the risk of being placed in ESL classes. And ESL classes is a population we worked a lot when we were research assistants. So, you know, we talked and we decided maybe we could create a project that would be able to help them. And so we spent 1 year writing proposals, and we submitted to the NSF. And in 2019, we got the SPEAR Phase 1 grant. SPEAR stands for Small Business Innovation and Research. And that's when we launched LangInnov and we started the BLAST project. So what do we want to help, and why do we think schools need a new solution? As you may know, there are 14 million bilingual students in the US, right? And out of these 14 million, 3 million students stay in ESL classes longer than 6 years. And obviously it has implications, because it's going to cause delay in their education, it's going to have increased dropout rates, and it costs more to schools to have ESL classes. And what we also observed is that we knew actually, because when we went testing into the schools when we were RAs, is that most of the assessment with bilingual children were monolingual assessment in English. And research has shown that you need to take into account the skills developed in the first language to help with the acquisition of the second language, which is English. And with the pandemic, you have other challenges that were created with remote learning, like the widening gap between English speakers and English language learners. And so the solution we had in mind was the BLAST, which stands for Bilingual Literacy Assessment and Skill Tracker. So BLAST is a fully automated bilingual assessment. So with the grant, we decided to focus right now on the language pair Spanish and English, and only at the kindergarten level. And obviously we aligned it to the Common Core Literacy Standards for K. And what we hope to achieve with this is to provide teachers with detailed student data so they can help them better. And we also hope to help school principals to make informed decisions about ESL placement and hopefully move more students from ESL to mainstream classes. So how does the BLAST application work? So right now we have only we developed the assessment. So the child takes the assessment on his iPad. Then the results are transferred to the cloud, they analyze it, and have the result display on the application. So with that, what we want to provide with the child and his parents is a set of personalized activities that will focus on the skills that he needs and to reinforce the skills he already has acquired. And for teachers, because she will have detailed data on the students' results, she will be able to help him better. What we also wanted to create is a network of parents and teachers that we can put together based on the student's profile who has the similar needs so that they can have a community that will help each other. So the skills assessed in BLAST are the typical skills, for K, like pre-literacy skills and listening comprehension. But what we had, I think that was kind of innovative, is the oral skills, right? That could be assessed automatically. While before, for oral skills, you would need a human assessor, and so more like a paper version assessment. So the objectives for 2021. So we have the application with the assessment that is available right now on the App Store. But what we want to develop now is the set of activities, of personalized activities that will be presented to students based on the results of the assessment. And to do that, we applied for the NSF SPEAR Phase 2 grant, and also to the SPEAR Phase 1 Department of Education grants. So we applied this year, beginning of this year, and hopefully we will hear from them, within the next 3 months. And we start applying to some accelerators in the US. Our CEO also contacted principals of New York schools, and we're going to have 2 pilots that are going to begin soon. And she's also in early talks with VC funds to find investors. So to conclude this presentation, like I said, I will share with you my thoughts on the entrepreneurial process, I would say. So the first thing I learned, I kind of knew, but I mean, they're very obvious, but I guess it makes more sense you actually living it, right? Is that startups are not fairy tales. What it means is that you're not going to be rich or successful overnight. You're going to struggle. You're going to work for free for many, many months before you get a reward. And so you need patience, and you have to be ready for, I guess, disappointments. You can get many rejections, like I said before, you get a big reward. The second thing is that you have to be 200% committed when you start a business, because you have to take care for every side of the business, right? You have to take care of the product, but you also have to take care of finding customers, of all the administrative work that is involved. And it's like your other baby. And so, you know, you're thinking about it all the time. So if you don't have the time to do that, which obviously is my case, or at least I cannot commit 200% of my time, then you have to find partners that complement you. And if you do that, you still have to accept the decisions and not otherwise, you know, if you disagree on everything, the project will never move forward. And third thing that is related to that, sorry, is that you have to know your limitations and delegate. And by that I mean, I think you should know what you're best at doing and keep doing it, because time is precious when you do a business. And maybe delegate what you're not good at to people who are good at it, right? And the last thing I would say is that you will learn a lot from the experience. And if you manage to make it, I think you will be very proud. So if any of you right now has, you know, an idea and want to do it, and I think you should take the plunge and try it, because at the end, I think you learn a lot from it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for your talk. It was very interesting, and we can see how much work has been put into each of these projects. We'll be taking questions now from anyone here, so please feel free to put your camera on or not, and just you can either ask questions in the chat, or you can also speak up if you'd like. So if anyone would like to go first, please go ahead. All right, well then maybe I'll start with my, I see some cameras off, go ahead.
Sonia, this is great. It's just amazing, all the stuff that you've been doing. I was really happy to see that you were presenting today to get an update of all this. And the thing is that I have to leave right now. So I just really wanted to give you a thumbs up and ask you, could you share the slides with us?
Yeah, sure.
I would really be happy to have that in my files. Thank you.
Sure.
Wonderful work. Wonderful.
Here. I wanted to ask, maybe I missed something, but what exactly is the economic model for your two projects? Are the families supposed to buy the app or to subscribe to it?
Yeah, so the first one, the Gazouyi project, is yes, the business model is parents would buy the application. There's a subscription that they could subscribe to, right? But I think you know, when you start a business directly selling B2C, it's very difficult. So right now, the approach that Victor and Salome is taking is that the app is available to parents and parents can subscribe. But what they're trying to do right now is go see companies that offer more like parenting packages, you know, like some companies offer daycare spots for their employees. And so they're trying to get into, I don't know how you call it in English, the comité d'entreprise that offer packages for parents. And so that's what they try to do, like sell companies first those subscriptions for their employees, so we can get, you know, a bigger contract immediately, rather than waiting for each parent to subscribe. But eventually, yes, the product is for parents. And for the second one, the assessment where you can assess, the child is for schools, right? So OCO is trying to sell that to schools. But then, like I told you, we tried to develop like a set of activities that the child could take based on the results of the assessment. and that would be more parents who would buy the activities. But we don't have that product yet. So right now it's just the assessment, and she's focusing on schools with principals, because in New York, or I mean in the United States, the principals have a budget, so they can decide on what to buy for the bilingual students.
Thank you. And with respect to Gazouyi, what would you say is the added value compared to the available social networks, like a private Facebook page or something similar?
So I think our added value is more the activities that we are having. We think that the baby book, it will be, I think the baby book would be a value afterwards, but first to get the parents into the application, it's more the activities right now, because we looked what's out there for the activities, and you know, you have lots of websites or applications that have activities, but most activities are geared towards, you know, more like 3 or 5 years old. For activities for the very little ones, like infants, there are not that many. And the way we try to do it is to kind of use our scientific knowledge, I would say, where you link the activities to a developmental milestone, which is not really how activities are right now presented on what we found on the market. Yeah, but okay, so your question, I didn't really answer about the timeline. I think you know, like if parents have too many apps, they're only going to use one, right? And so of course they have Facebook and they have WhatsApp, right? Where right now that's how you share photos of your grandkids via WhatsApp, right? But so we've managed to create an app where parents will come that meets most of their needs. Then maybe we might be able to switch them to from WhatsApp to Gazouyi, and so that's why we're trying to combine many needs, you know, and hopefully one day it will pay off. Like I said, right now with the statistics we got, parents are only using the app for the activities. They're not using the baby book at all, right? Because I think they're using the other tools. And so that's why in the long term we will try to see to understand that and see if we can either discard it or keep it, but we have to change obviously the way we have it right now, because it's not, people are not using it.
Great, good luck.
Thank you.
Any questions? Otherwise, I have one. I was wondering, so you're developing these applications, and for instance, the last application, you said you're going to test it in 2 New York schools. And so you're going to evaluate the application at that point and then assess whether or not it should be improved or changed in some way.
Yeah. So we actually, so we finished the app like in June of last year, and we already started a small pilot. But you know, with well, in New York they closed the schools, right? So we did a small pilot with kids that were on Zoom, and so we did have some data already. And we saw like obviously some functionalities that could be improved. And so, but yeah, so we're hoping to have the bigger pilot to really, you know, test the app in person, because it's not the same when you do on Zoom and you do in person, so that we can improve some of the functionality of the app. And also we saw that maybe some questions that we designed may not be, you know, could be rewarded because some of the kids didn't understand. We could shorten some of the stories that we have. So yes, the pilot will allow us to refine also the app, the content of the application.
So would you say that in general, when you develop the application, you test it maybe on a small number of individuals, so parents or children, and then you just put it out there and then you keep updating it over time, kind of like any other application? It's not as you could also imagine, for instance, that you'd have this application that you test, and then once you deem it to be good enough or robust, let's say, then you apply it to a population.
Well, the second one would be, I guess, the ideal situation, but where, you know, whatever you do, it's never good to be the best. So sometimes you just say, you have to get it out there, you know. So that's what we did for Gazouyi, because obviously I think the application has still many flaws in it, and there's still bugs and things like that. But because even if you have some beta testers, it's still a limited amount, right? It's not really sometimes not representative of what really most parents use. And so yeah, sometimes you just have to say, okay, it's time, let's put it out there, because it's a business as well. And I don't know if I show it to you, but I convinced you, but also we need to live, right? And we need to generate revenues. And so yeah, so we put it out there, and we do have feedback all the time. We have an Excel sheet with all the things that could be improved, and we're going to prioritize each one of them and decide, okay, when we have the time to improve this and that, and that's how it keeps going. And that's why, you know, people have updates of the application all the time also. Yeah. Okay.
Because you get feedback from the users then, and then from that you derive what needs to be improved.
Yes, right. Yeah, and you know, if the same feedback comes back several times, then we know, okay, this one needs to be changed. That's how we prioritize now. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? In general, it doesn't necessarily have to be specific on a project. It can be about life and time management, as she seems to have done a million projects and work with a lot of different people.
I just wanted to say, this is Justine asking the question. I just wanted to say that the work is really beautiful. These apps are really elegant. And that there's a foundation that funds exactly this kind of thing. It funds media to help parents raise verbal children, to help usually low income parents improve the vocabulary and other aspects of language use with their young children. It's called the Jacobs Foundation, and it's in Switzerland. And you can ask me for more details if you want, but I just wanted to say that before I forgot.
Okay, thank you, Justine. Well, I'm gonna ask you for the name again. Yes,
yeah,
we check into it. Thank you.
Any questions? All right. Well, unless you have anything to add, maybe we'll close the session here. And if anyone has any questions, they can also contact you.
Yeah, sure. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I'll be happy to share my experience if it can help. Sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming, to everyone, and thank you for presenting. We'll have the recording up, I think, in about 1 or 2 weeks on the DEC website, on the DEC AltAc, so Alternative to Academia page. So thank you, everyone, and thank you very much for coming today to present.
Okay, thank you for inviting me. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Merci, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Bye, everyone.